what I did have was a message that could help somebody that was behind me. And this is one of the biggest things that I would tell anybody who's listening right now is you don't have to be the world's greatest expert or on paper, the world's most successful person to share a message that can help somebody. If you can take somebody on their adventure from a 2 to a 6, not even to a 10, that would change their life and fundamentally impact the direction of where they are headed, all because you took a chance to guide them that first path.
Welcome back to the Fast Foundations podcast. This is another mentor session. I got my boy Jake on with us today. Jake, I'm so excited to get into the idea of writing books, but the first question I want to hop right into is you just wrote your 4th book. You just turned 30 years old and you wrote a 4th book already. Holy crap. You tracked your time, though, writing this 4th one. How much time and energy does it actually take to write a book?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me, RT. Pumped to be here, and let's get into it. So I just wrote my 4th book, became my 4th bestseller, and I did it in less than 87 days.
Wow.
And so I want to take you straight through it because I think there's no better way to kick this off than getting in the details and showing anybody that if you have an hour a day, you can write a really great book that will grow your business exponentially. So in 17 days, I wrote my rough draft. By day 60, I was ready for publication. And by day 87, we launched to Amazon bestseller status. Now, within that, I wanted to see how long does it actually take me to follow the process that I've created for others that people use from all over the world to write their books. How long would it actually take me to do this? Okay. And what I found out was that I spent 87 days from start to launch. And during those 87 days, I spent an average of 40.37 minutes per day. Yes. And we factor in only the days that I worked, because I don't work on all the weekends. I have family time. I have what I call my priorities, and I honor those. So on the 66 days that I actually did book-related activities, I spent 52.6 minutes. All right, so under an hour a day, produced a book that generated tens of thousands of dollars in revenue before the book was even launched.
Wow. That's super cool. And that's, you and I have talked about this because I have some different books that I'd like to write. And a lot of our Fast Foundations audience a couple of people have written a book, or they're like me, they have ideas. What do you think takes that effort? What do you think is the thing that's holding the most people back? And from your experience with all these authors, why people aren't just starting and just doing it? Like, what do you think is the biggest holdback?
Well, I think one of the biggest holdbacks is the same biggest holdback for everything else is like, why don't we just start? Right?
Sure.
But we get in our own heads and we start to say, for a book specifically, I don't have time to write this. I'm running a business, so therefore I can't go lock myself in the cabin in the woods for 2 years and come back with a manuscript. I don't have time for that. We hear people say, well, who am I to write this book? We have people that say, somebody who's already written on my topic. What makes me special, right?
Got it.
And so when it holds people back from starting, one is the limiting beliefs around, is it possible? Can I do it? And do I have the time?
Love it.
But the other thing that I think really stops people from starting with a book, because we know that most people want to write a book, especially entrepreneurs. We know that. The data shows that. I've polled my audience and 80+% of people want to write a book. But the reason that we don't do it is because we aren't truly committed to that, because we don't know what lies on the other side of the action. And here's what I mean by that is with a lot of things in life, but again, we'll keep it on the book's specifics,
right?
Is when people get ready to write a book, they think it's going to take them years and years and years, and only after the book is launched will they see any type of reward or any type of value. And the reality of it, in today's age, if you are to create a book and use it for your business, not only can you do it in an hour a day with the right process, but you can use it to sell your program during writing. You can use it as a back-end course You can use it as a lead gen tool, and you can use it as your entire social content calendar for 3 to 6 months. So that the entire time you're writing your book on the topic you already sell something about, or the product you already sell about, you are building more credibility, more trust, and more opportunity. And so I think that instead of thinking, for most people, I need to write the book, spend all this time, and then I hopefully can reap the reward. We need to start recognizing that writing a book will actually save you time in the long run by doing it right once. And at the end of that, you'll have an actual tangible book that you can gift, give, sell, and use to grow your business and make an impact at a higher level.
I've never thought about it like that. And I think you have another believer on this side over here. So I'm totally sold. I mean, I was when I first met you and just your energy about what you do already, but like that logic flow of all the benefit I can get throughout the process, I literally haven't had that thought before. So thank you. Give me a little bit of feedback and process on the 4 books that you've written, your journey. Why'd you want to get into this in the beginning? And like, how did you leverage all of that? That gold that you just shared with us in terms of your why for the 4 books that you've written so far.
Yeah, I mean, great question. I'll break down all 4 books, but it's really funny because I was in college. I was at the University of Southern California, and I thought I had my life planned. I was going to go to college. I was going to become a sports agent. I was going to be the youngest agent in history to represent a lottery pick. I was going to get really rich really quick. I was going to buy a house, maybe buy an island, get married, have kids, and then I would write books and I'd speak as a way of giving back. I thought that speaking and books were only for people that had quote unquote made it, and that you have had to live a full life before you can do all that. But as life would have it, my plan went completely upside down before I even graduated college. And instead of working with an agency to be a sports agent, I actually started my career working for the Los Angeles Lakers. And it was during that season that it was Kobe Bryant's final NBA season. And I got to see the true impact that Kobe had on this world. People would spend thousands of dollars to watch him play for the final time. People would travel from all across the world to come watch him play one last time before he retired. And I thought to myself, how can I make this impact? How can I be like Kobe? And I realized it might not be at the level that he does it. It might not be even close to the level, but I started to think, what if I could impact one person's world? And so I came home one day and I asked myself, what do I know and how can I help people? And the truth is, at 22, with 1 year out of college, you don't know a whole lot. Even though I thought I might know a lot, right?
Yep.
But I didn't know much. All that I did know was how I landed a very highly desired job with the Lakers and how I got all the internships I wanted. And I knew that everybody in my fraternity, and my younger brother is 3.5 years younger than me, everybody asked me, how did I do that? And so I said, I'm doing it. I'll write a book on this. Yeah. And so I ended up writing a book. I had no idea what would come of it or anything. And 5.5, 6 months later, Kobe Bryant retires, I retire, and I launched my first book called Elevate Beyond. And that was the change of my life. That was a very big moment because it sparked everything that was to come. And what happened since then is, like you said, I've gone in to write 4 books. I had Elevate Beyond at 23, Elevate Your Network at 25, The Elevated Entrepreneur at 28, and then my most recent book, Big Idea to Bestseller, I wrote at 29 years old, 3 days before I turned 30. So that's a little bit about the book story, and I'm happy to dive into each book if you want to know why I wrote each book, because there's a different purpose and a different technique behind each one. But overall, that was what got me started, and it's taken me now all across the world. People have used my book as required reading in college syllabi. I've spoken in China. I've done so many things, built coaching businesses on the back end of it, raised money for charity through books, and done so many really cool things. But it all started because I took a chance on myself at 22 and said, I'm going to do something that most people aren't willing to see to fruition.
That's cool. And I think, that's you, and that's your brand is just that. I think it's really cool, the tie-in and the story with Kobe and the inspiration that you had. And, I think a lot of us at 20 something right out of college believe we can do anything. And I know a lot of us, including myself, even though I have experienced a lot in my life, I still feel the way that you felt, which is like, well, I have to like retire. I have to go like sell a company for 100 million or take a company public before I can write a book and like share, I don't know what I've learned. But you're totally right. There's still a lot of people that are just a couple steps or a couple years behind us that they have those questions. They're like, wait, no, what'd you learn right now? Like, that's a whole nother level of motivation to just write the book. I love that. I think it would add a lot of value if you unpacked for us like where you were in your life and why you decided to write these 4 books at the time you did. Because I think for someone like me and probably our listeners, maybe I can put myself in the shoes of where you were at one of those 4 times. And that might be my inspiration to write. So let's start with Elevate Beyond. Like, you were, like, in your words, you're just a kid coming in hot. What was the inspiration for that, and where did that come from, and how'd that lead into the second one?
So the first one, as I kind of mentioned, I was inspired by Kobe, wanted to do something different. And the truth was, on this one, I was not the best career development expert in the world, right?
Sure.
I mean, I had less than 1 year of career development experience.
Sure.
But what I did have was a message that could help somebody that was behind me. And this is one of the biggest things that I would tell anybody who's listening right now is you don't have to be the world's greatest expert or, on paper, the world's most successful person to share a message that can help somebody. If you can take somebody on their adventure from a 2 to a 6, not even to a 10, that would change their life and fundamentally impact the direction of where they are headed, all because you took a chance to guide them that first path, right? And so the first book for me, I didn't have a following. I didn't have an email list. I didn't even have a real business at the time, okay? I was just working for the Lakers, and I had a message, and I wanted to help people. And so that's the first thing. Is the message that you have to share worth sharing, and can it lift somebody up, okay? Then I launched it, all right? Now I launched this book, and I'm a bestseller, and I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go back to the sports world, right? And someone tells me, I don't even remember who it was, but they were like, Jake, people pay money for speakers. Like, you could go become a motivational speaker now. You don't have to wait. I was like, wait, you're telling me that I can get paid money to talk about my book? And they were like, yeah. So I did what I thought necessary. I found a mentor, and then I made a list of every single community college that existed in California. And I reached out to every single department and person that I think I could possibly speak about. Now, I wasn't clear on the messaging. I had no idea what I was doing, and I got lucky. And the first gig that I did was on the A colleges. So I was like 1 for 3. I get my first gig. They ask me how much to charge. I have no freaking idea. They say, hey, we do 12 presentations in 2 days. Can your voice handle that? Absolutely, my voice can handle that, right?
Sure thing, yeah.
My first gig, my first paid gig. I didn't do any free gigs before this. I just made up a price, and I did 12 presentations in 2 days, and I got paid several $1,000s to do it. And I was like, I'm rich. I made it. This is the easiest thing in the world, right?
Yep. The island is the next step. I mean, it's right there.
I was like, oh, I'm only on A. I'm 1 in 3. If I do this and I get 30 clients, I mean, I'm going to make more money than I've ever thought about or seen, right?
Yep.
So now I was introduced to, oh my gosh, a book has just created this. My book's now at Syracuse, Cal State Northridge as required reading for different classes. I'm 23 years old now. I'm speaking to colleges, and I have all this. I'm like, I'm onto something here. So I keep building. I do some stuff in the basketball world at a really high level, and we don't need to go into that right now. But the next book that I write, I was like, okay, what am I the expert on now? What am I learning, and why have I had such great success up to this point? Why have I been able to help NBA players sign their first deal? Why do I have success with this book? And I was like, networking. So that leads us to book 2. It was the next logical book because it was what I had the most experience, the most knowledge about, and it's what people were asking me the most about. And I knew that I was giving a lot of talks on networking. So I decided, let me write the book on networking, become the authority in that, and see what that could do for my career from a speaking standpoint, because I really wanted to grow that. Well, that book was coming out in October of 2018.
Okay.
July of 2018, I get invited to speak in China on a 10-day speaking tour to debut the book and to work with schools and kids and some of their staff. And I was like, wow, I'm 5 months away from the book even coming out, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is. And I just got invited to speak in China on a 10-day speaking tour. We made it, right?
This is it.
And I'm a young kid at the time still, right? And I'm 25, about to turn 26. I'm like, this is unreal. I'm going to China for a 10-day speaking tour. This is set. I go to China, and this book, I launch Elevate Your Network in October, and we start doing really well. I start getting more speaking gigs. Now I have 2 books, Elevate Beyond, Elevate Your Network. Both of these are starting to be utilized more. Bulk orders, increased order value. So instead of selling 1, I'm selling 2 for a little bit discount. People are buying this, right? So I'm increasing my opportunity for revenue and growth. Fast forward to my 3rd book that came out in October of 2021, The Elevated Entrepreneur. This book was a little bit different. Instead of writing about my own experiences, I interviewed 39 of the world's greatest coaches, performers, and entrepreneurs. And the reason I did this was because the pandemic had happened. I had pivoted everything online because speaking gigs shut down. My basketball event shut down. I said, I need to build my network, and I need to build my network faster than I'm even capable of at this point.
Yeah.
And I said, everybody does a podcast. Everybody's willing to does blog posts. If I write a book, I bet I could get the attention of some pretty big people right away.
Yep.
So I say, I'm writing this book, and I'm going to interview people. People end up in that book. John Lee Dumas, Chris Ducker, Pat Flynn, Lori Harder, the governor of Nevada, Brandon Cohen, the CEO of Liquid IV. Like, we end up having some incredible, Dr. Nicole LePera, the holistic psychologist on Instagram. All of these people join my book along with 39 people. And that book enables me to build a network at a very, very high level.
Yep.
All right. And it allows me to really establish myself as a legitimate coach in the online space.
Yep.
Right. So I want everyone that's listening to this, like, see the different ways you can utilize these books, build your network, increase your revenue, lead them into a higher ticket item, build credibility. These are all things that I've done from these. And then my 4th book, Big Idea to Bestseller, is literally my newest book. And it's all about how to write and launch a nonfiction book to grow your business and make an impact. And this is the book that directly correlates to my current coaching program, Big Idea to Bestseller, right?
Yep.
Where we help people write and launch nonfiction books to grow their business and make an impact. And this book was the one that I mentioned I wrote in 87 days. I shared the journey every single day on my social. We did a podcast every single week. We brought in tens of thousands of dollars before the book was even launched. We had months worth of social content created before the book was even launched. The book launched. We had our biggest launch yet with the least amount of time and money invested on my end. It goes the power of building consistency over time. And now this book is being read by people every day. I'm getting a message. Every week I'm getting somebody saying, Jake, holy smokes. I always wanted to write a book, but I just didn't know that I could actually do it this quickly or that it would actually help me in all of these ways. And that leads us to this conversation. 4 books in, just turned 30. And now, we're really focused on sharing these strategies with the world and helping other people do the same thing.
Hey, it's RT. Thanks so much for listening to the Fast Foundations podcast. I want to see you in the room. I don't want you to just be hearing my and our voices. Let me tell you about the Fast Foundations Mastermind. It's a 6-month-long program, and it's our signature program. It's how you join our community. Every time we talk about this amazing community of almost 400 people that have gone through our mastermind that we have here on the podcast that we hear from and our mentors, all that kind of stuff, all the guest speakers, the coaches, all the awesome things that we get to do, it all starts with the mastermind. It's a 6-month-long program with 2 2-day in-person events. One's in Scottsdale, one's in Denver. Yes, they're in amazing, beautiful places. We have them in cool spots because that's fun. We also give you 6 months with a coach, one-on-one. And the most important thing is once you go through that mastermind and you learn from all these amazing speakers that we bring in, learn from your coach, grow with me and Jim and the rest of our team, you get lifetime access to our community. Every single thing that we do is recorded and uploaded into a private platform off of Facebook, off of the social medias, all that kind of crap. And it's saved in one place that you have, again, lifetime access to. So when you join the Fast Foundations Mastermind, which you can learn more about at fastfoundations.com, and click on Join the Community to apply. When you join this mastermind, you're in our community for life. I really hope to see you in the room, and I hope to talk to you soon. I love it, Jake. And first of all, congratulations on the success. Like that's got to feel good every time you get one of those messages, every time somebody tags you in a story and you see your own book cover. Like, that's got to be such a good feeling. And I think we should just take a moment for you and think about how awesome that might feel. And if you're listening to this, I think we've gone through pretty much every way you could be motivated and every different idea. And so for some people, motivation is money. So it's like, okay, I'm going to write a book so I can make some money. Some people, it's like, and for me, this is a big one. Like, I want to be a speaker. I want to be interviewed on big podcasts. Like, I want to speak at like Summit of Greatness, with Lewis Howes. And I was sitting there at Summit of Greatness last year, and I'm realizing everyone on stage that's at that event, and if you think about it, everyone that's on his massive podcast is an author. And then you're like, at the end of the podcast episode or the speech, Lewis Howes comes on. He's like, by the way, buy their book, check it out. And I'm like, maybe I think that's the first time. I think I might have texted you after that and been like, I think I might have to write a book. Because it's just such a cool motivation. And then if you're into other people saying you're cool and awesome, probably another thing that, you can get by writing a book, and people will tag you and like talk about it. So I love it. Thank you for the backstory. All that makes sense. I think that leads like, what's your next book? What's your next thing? What's the next thing that you're focused on and working on? Or are you still in like, kind of launch mode and focused on Big Idea Bestseller?
So for this book, our big focus right now is just pushing it out there, getting it out there. And I have, several other books that we're going to do and different experiments we're going to try, because there's a variety of different books. There's the guide or how-to book, right? This is very much like the majority of the books. Big Idea to Bestseller, it's a guide or how-to. This is what most online people, coaches, consultants are going to create. But then you also have the interview book, like the Elevated Entrepreneur. You also have a quote book that you could do that's a little quicker. Just put your favorite quotes together, add some analysis, and boom. You could do a daily book, like the Daily Stoic, right? Where people spend every single day with you reading one page. Yeah. Talk about a way to get in the mind of your ideal client. Have your book on their shelf every single day for a year. All right? Tell me that person isn't going to take action and follow what you got going on, right?
100%.
You could do a business fable, right? Patrick Lencioni, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, John Gordon, Training Camp, The Energy Bus. These are other great books, fictional stories around real world business principles. And then you have like your legacy book. So I have many more books in me, many partnerships to be created on these different books. But for right now, we're really focused on trying a bunch of different strategies and new strategies to really help sell books to bring in leads. And I'll give you a little sneak peek right now. For everyone that's listening, because you guys are all growing your businesses, is I'm getting leads for $1. Okay. And this is a strategy that doesn't require paid ads. It doesn't require webinars. It requires good social content. And then I'm literally gifting my Kindle book to people. It's 99 cents. So I will buy it for people and I will gift it to them, and they will receive it from Amazon, and they'll be able to read it on their Kindle, their tablet, their Mac, their phone, whatever. And I'm bringing in leads every day for 99 cents because they're giving me their email and I'm gifting them my book. And so it's a really, really great way. Like, what other thing can you do to get leads for $1? Not much.
Not much. Yeah, Jim and I talk about that all the time on the podcast and in our events and stuff. It's like, okay, let's talk marketing, let's talk paid spend. So yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's so cool.
So that's just one thing. But if you look at it, like I got this book, right? I spent 87 days, 55 minutes a day working on this. Now I have this book. Okay. Now I've been able to use this to pitch myself for podcasts. Uh-huh. I have about 50 plus social posts already created that are going to come out over the next few months from this book, right? I'm giving this away to people's masterminds. I'm being invited to speak in people's coaching calls. I'm invited, to be on podcasts because of this story.
Yep.
Right? We're bringing in leads because there's resources in the book that people can go download for free. That's converting at over 65% right now. So there's unlimited ways to use your book once you have it. And that's the thing I really want everyone to know is, look, we're in a unique time period. We're coming out of the pandemic. We're headed into a recession. We're already in it technically. And we have to find something that will differentiate ourselves from everybody else. And we have to figure out a way to do that fast. The fastest way to do something that will give you the opportunity to leverage your business for the next 5 to 10 years is a book. You write a book in 3-6 months, and then you could use it for the next 5 years. Build a course, social content, high-ticket consulting, masterminds, retreats, physical products. You can do all of these things with a book. Affiliate, referral partners, free plus shipping funnels. There's endless ways to use one product. All you have to do is put in the time once, and then you can use it over and over again in different angles, and that's how you maximize your time. And on top of that, you have a freaking book. How awesome is that? Like that's the craziest thing, right? Is after all of this, that most of these marketing strategies, you do one and you get one benefit, or two and you get two benefits. This, you get all of those benefits, onboarding gifts, persuading clients to know that you're the right person for them, right? Building that know, like, and trust. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the best part is you don't have to do any of the distribution or fulfillment on your end. Amazon will do all of that for you. You just need to get it up there and get to that point. So a book is really, in my opinion, and what we're seeing is it's the fastest way to differentiate yourself in a crowded space. And it's the easiest thing to do the work once because you have to do it right. And then you can leverage it into so many other avenues and aspects of your business.
I love it. Now, I think a question that I have and a lot of people have is, okay, so I can do it quick. You did it in 90 days or less. That's amazing. Financially, what are the costs associated with writing a book? And where do they come from? Because I'm sure besides my time to write it, do I need to hire an editor? How does publishing work? How much does Amazon charge for the logistics and all that kind of stuff? What should I expect to spend on marketing when I launch? God, what am I missing? Cost-wise, what does that look like for most people?
Sure. So, I mean, me and you, we think the same way. When we want to get something done and we want to get something done fast, we look for a mentor and a person to work with. So one thing that will help speed up your process and save you thousands of dollars in the process, and we see this time and time again, is to work with somebody like me or another form of a book coach or company that can help you bring your book to life, right? I'll give you an example real quick of why this is so important. We had a client, she spent over 20 grand piecemealing all the different pieces, months and months and months, spent over 20 grand. She ended up working with us. And in just a short period of time, about a month or two, we had her book up on Amazon, ready to launch, and she became a bestseller. So it's really about making sure that you spend your time and your money wisely. So that's one area, okay? Now, you can get a ton of this stuff, YouTube videos, free content, my free content, whatever. The actual tangible costs that come with a book, again, are this. Number one, do you want someone to write the book for you, okay? So do you want a ghostwriter or do you want to write it yourself? All right, I normally encourage most people to write it themselves unless they really don't want to write it. English isn't their first language and they want it to sound written from a native English speaker, or they'd rather trade money for time instead of time for money.
Sure.
So that's the biggest thing. Do you want to write it or not write it yourself? That is a potential expense. Most people that we work with write the books themselves, but we have a lot of people that we do ghostwriting for them. A couple other expenses that are going to be across the board. Your editing, okay? I highly encourage everybody to hire a professional editor. Don't hire your 10th grade English teacher. Don't hire your friend with a PhD in English unless they are editors of nonfiction books. And an editor can range between a couple $100 to several $1,000, depending on your word count, depending on the quality of the editor, depending on the types of edits that you need, right? So this is it fluctuates, all right? But that's a ballpark. So if you want to do it low end, like a Fiverr, Upwork freelancer, you can get it on the lower end. If you want to get a really good individual editor, $1,000, $1,500 could be really great. And if you want to get somebody who's done some of the biggest books, it's going to cost you, $2,500 to $5,000. Then let's talk about cover design. Similar thing, huge range. I know people that have spent $5,000 on a cover, and I know people that have spent $200 on a cover. It depends on what you're going for, who you want to utilize with, but that can range.
Yep.
And then formatting. Formatting is making the interior design of the book. So making sure that the margins are legitimate, making sure that it looks like a real book and not like an amateur just took a Word document and resized it and threw it up on Amazon, right?
Yep.
And that's why self-publishing gets a bad rap. But in reality, if you have the right format, and again, this can range several $100 to several $1,000 depending on the person. I like to say a sweet spot is 600-ish on formatting.
Sure.
Now, again, all of these things you could piecemeal together, or you could just work with someone who can do all of this for you, right?
Yep.
So you don't have to go through the hassle of finding the right person, because we see people get burned time and time again. And in my book, I literally break down what makes a good editor, what makes a good cover designer, what makes a good formatter, how to select them, where to find them, scripts. We give away scripts in the book. Like, this is all in the book because I don't want people to have these questions anymore.
Yep.
And I know that by doing this, I'm going to solve the problem for them right away. But I also know that there are going to be people that are like, this is amazing. Jake, can you just help us out and do the rest? And so that's why I really think a book is where you give it all. And then, I know you mentioned about publishing, and I'll bring it up here as like one of the last final potential expenses in launching. Publishing is free to publish. Anybody can go on Amazon, create an account, and publish your book. And you can do that for free. And the coolest part is you own all the rights, the royalties, and the ownership.
Wow.
Amazon does all the fulfillment for you. So let's say your book is $18. You might get $10 after Amazon ships it and distributes it and fulfills the order and does everything they do. You don't touch it again. All you do is you get a royalty check.
Wow.
So that can be really great, but you actually don't have to pay money to publish if you're using Amazon.
Does Amazon print the book too? I'm sorry,
Amazon
Jake.
prints it on demand.
Print and ship, basically those print on demand companies for t-shirts and stuff. That's what Amazon's doing for books.
Exactly. It's print on demand. So if anybody's listening to this,
that makes sense.
Yeah, buys my paperback book right now, it'll show up on your doorstep tomorrow, and I will have done nothing other than the fact that the book is live.
Sure.
And then I will get a royalty check on the back end for every one of those book sales. And then the last thing I'll leave you with here is launching. Launching is probably the most variable aspect of this, because some people want to do massive launch parties. Some people want to do podcast tours, press releases. Some people want to tap into an audio book for their launch. There's a lot of different things. Some people want to do a TV tour. There's a lot of different things that go into a launch. So that pricing is really dependent on your budget, but you could do it for as little as a couple $100, or you could spend, some of the big names spend tens of thousands of dollars on their launch, ensuring that it's super, super successful. But ultimately, I'll leave you with this on the pricing. First, you have to ask yourself, what do you actually want the book to do for you? What is the ultimate goal of writing this book? Is it clients? Is it business? Is it professionalism? Is it credibility? Is it, holy shit, I did it? What is that? And then you have to really get clear on, okay, what's the fastest way to do the best job?
Yep.
And that's the aspect that I would encourage everybody to do, because you can write a book if you have an interest in it. You just need the right process, and you just need to take that first step.
Love it. So if you were to sum it up, let's forget launches, because like you said, it's massive, variable. But from start to finish, if we say finish is pre-launch on Amazon, ready for me to click buy, what do you think is like the cheapest I can possibly do it for if I do it all myself and I hire some random people from Fiverr? And what do you think is like the most anyone should spend? And then what do you think is like average and what like it should cost, if you're willing to share? And give me a range, but I think that'd be valuable for people to be like, all right, this is what the budget is. And then for someone like me, I take all the logic you just gave me and say like, okay, I've budgeted way more than that for my last marketing campaign, and I'm just giving Facebook all those dollars. So this is interesting.
Yeah, lots of variables here, but I'll keep it as transparent as I can. My first book, okay, 22 years old. Remember, I was working for the Lakers, living at home with my parents. Your boy was broke. All right, I had no cash. All right, so I did it as bootstrapped as possible. I spent every minute that I could on that book because I didn't have any idea what I was doing. That book, I really shortchanged it on the design. I had a friend design it who's a professional designer, okay, but wasn't a book designer, so there were some hiccups there. I did, but she was really good. It was really, really good. I was really happy with it. But then editing and formatting, like I skimmed out on that. So I finished, the first book spending less than $1,000.
Wow.
But it was a very painful process.
Yeah, and a lot of your time.
Process. Yeah, and, I wouldn't encourage someone to go through that like I did, okay?
Sure.
Now, moving forward, you can spend, you could find, if you want to get it ghostwritten, have it completely done for you, like we charge $48,000. We'll write the book for you. We'll edit your book for you. We'll format your book. We'll design it for you. We'll publish your book, and we'll actually help you launch it all the way to Amazon bestseller and show you what to do next. So that's $48,000. There are people that are higher than us, lower than us, and in between. That's if you want it professionally ghostwritten and completely done for you, all in under $50K. Beautiful. Chef's kiss.
That doesn't seem like very much to me. So I'm sure there's somebody listening to this like, oh, okay, I'm writing my next book, right?
Yeah.
Like that's pretty cool. I love that.
And the cool thing about that from a time perspective is you just have to show up for interviews for a couple months, talk for an hour and a half. Right. We'll write down everything and we'll do it all for you, right? And then it's in your voice, in your words. So that is one aspect of it.
Yeah.
The majority of people, if you don't have a coach, here's a sample budget that you could do. First, you buy my book for 99 cents on Kindle. All right. Check. As a matter of fact, DM me that you heard me on this podcast and I'll gift you my book and you'll be one of my $1 leads. Okay. That's how we'll do this. No, but
you heard me, man. DM Jake. What's your Instagram? Let's just
Jake Kelfer. Jake Kelfer. DM me. Tell me you heard us chatting about this. Tell me you're interested in writing a book. I'll literally give you a copy. I'll gift you a copy on Amazon. Okay. And I'll show you what I'm doing in real time while you get this book.
There you go.
You want to go the cheapest. You read this book. You follow the process step by step. It's going to cost you 99 cents, or actually it's going to cost you $0. Then you're going to hire a professional editor. You're going to hire a professional cover designer, and you're going to hire a professional formatter. Depending on what you do, and hopefully you don't get screwed over, okay? But if you follow what's in the book, you should be able to do this at a very, very good price, okay? A couple $1,000s, all right? Now again, some people will spend $10,000 on this. Some people will try to go even cheaper, but a couple $1,000, 3 to 5 is a good sweet spot for a lot of people. And again, this is very general. There's pros and cons to all of this, but
for sure,
you're going to spend that. It's going to be free to publish, okay? And then your launch budget. So if you do this really entirely on your own, just from reading my book, you could do it for a couple grand, okay? Now, if you work with someone like me, for example, or a coach, we charge $7,500 to coach you through this entire process, give you the editors, designers, and formatters that we recommend and that have discounts for our people, so you don't have to spend time or money thinking about it. And we help you go from big idea to bestseller. So we coach you through that entire process over 6 months. And I just share that, one, because obviously I want everyone to know how they could potentially work with us. But two, I really share that because I want you to see that, writing a book is doable for you.
Yeah.
Everyone that's listening to this, like, you can write this book and you can use this book as an opportunity and a vehicle to the life you've always dreamed of. I call it the fast path to success. But that's kind of in a nutshell, different pricings, kind of how we price ourselves, and various other things that kind of go with it.
That's wonderful, Jake. And thanks for sharing that, because I think I just want to try to demystify the process and make it feel accessible. And honestly, even the $50,000, $48,000 number you threw out still feels accessible if that's truly, if that's how much you value your time and you want someone to completely do it for you, soup to nuts. That feels really good for me. And if I had that kind of cash, I'd already be working with you. And like you said, all the way down to free, just buy this book and I'll teach you how to do it and you can figure it out yourself. So, ton of value. Thank you, Jake. Random question I want to add on to the end of this before we wrap up is all this crazy awesome stuff with AI and ChatGPT and Jasper and like these robots researching and writing for us. What do you think that's going to do to authors and how can we either leverage that or what are your like your thoughts on all of that new really interesting stuff?
I'm having a great time. First of all, I'll just say I'm having a great time playing around with ChatGPT. I mean, it's a blast. But here's what I'm recognizing, both as I experience it and as I'm talking with different people around the book industry as well as the entrepreneurial industry, is this. As of today, it can do some really amazing things, okay? It can give you tons of social content ideas. It can give you an entire outline to your book if you have the right formula and you know what to do. But here's the biggest thing of all. ChatGPT is going to separate the people who can ask great questions from the people who can actually implement the things. And that's where I see it being the biggest difference. Because if you don't know what to ask AI, it will not be able to do the thing you want it to do at the level you were hoping for it to do.
Yep.
However, if you could ask the right question, you're going to give it an opportunity to perform at the level you want. And I'll give you an example of this. I heard someone that literally wrote their book on AI, 25,000 words. They just wrote it with AI and they were like, great. But it was nowhere near ready based on the prompt they had given them. It was nowhere near ready for editing or publication. It was like a rough draft.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's written by a robot.
That being said, that's an incredible head start that people didn't have access to very recently. Yeah. And so I would encourage you throughout any type of AI, this is what I'm personally doing as I learn more about it, is I'm sharpening my question asking skills. I think this is one of the biggest skills you can have in life in general. Yeah. But I've seen it specifically with this AI is if you have a vision, you need to ask the right question for it to be able to give you the right answer. And oftentimes it's the answer that you didn't know you needed, but if you ask the right question, something new will come up and that will be better than the answer you were kind of hoping for originally. So that's kind of my 2 cents so far on it.
I think that's a life lesson in general, not just about AI and copywriting. So thank you, Jake. So much value. Where can people find you and what's the best way to connect with you and support you if they want to?
The best place is going to be on my Instagram at Jake Kelfer. And like we said earlier, I want to gift you guys all my book. So just message me, tell me you heard me on the Fast Foundations, and I'll make sure that we get you a book in your inbox as soon as possible. We'll get you the Kindle version as soon as possible. And there's links on there. We're doing live events this year on how to write your book and get more done in 3 days than you have in the last 3 months, 3 years, or even 3 decades. We're doing all types of things, tons of free resources, training. So find me on Instagram and let's connect there and let's have some fun.
Well, thank you for being here, Jake. I appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Thanks for being on the Fast Foundations podcast. That was another mentor session for you. If that was valuable, hit me with a comment here on YouTube or over on the podcast platforms. Let us know your thoughts. Give us a review. And then, like he said, connect with Jake on Instagram. Connect with me and Fast Foundations on Instagram. Let me know who else you want to hear from. We'll see you next time.